Hello everyone and welcome to My Aesthetic is Witchy. So today we will be talking about the Fool from the Tarot, the Fool Tarot card. Now the Fool is part of the Major Arcana, which means that the Fool represents very important major aspects of our life and is part of a long spiritual journey. Now the Fool represents a giant leap into the unknown, a beginning, a new beginning of an intense journey. And what time to be discussing this than around the time where Pluto will enter into Aquarius for about 20 years. For those who don't know, Pluto is the planet of intense transformation. Where Pluto is represented in our lives is where we experience intense change. This can sometimes be difficult, but it can ultimately be for the greater good and can benefit us in a major way down the line. Now, with Pluto in Aquarius, what this means is that this change will be even more profound. Aquarius is a sign of revolution, innovation, creativity, and great changes. Aquarius is a sign that constantly seeks new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking about things, new ideas. Aquarius, amongst many things, is the ruler of technology, of science, revolution, of astrology, of space. And with Pluto in Aquarius, this means that we'll be experiencing these great changes. Now, interestingly enough, if you look back in periods of history where Pluto was in Aquarius, we can look towards the end of the 18th century, a time that experienced many great revolutions, such as the French Revolution. In fact, the planet Uranus was discovered around this time, in between roughly the French and the American revolutions, and Uranus is regarded as the modern ruler of the sign of Aquarius. And where this is interesting is that the Fool is believed by many tarot experts to have two potential rulers. No one quite agrees, there's no consensus, but both these planets do exhibit correct and appropriate energies for this tarot card. Now these two rulers are Pluto or Uranus. So depending on who you're talking to, the Fool is ruled by either Uranus and or Pluto. So this is a time that is very much in alignment with the Fool tarot card. So what is the Fool? Who is the Fool? So the Fool can, in a lot of Renaissance art, the Fool was represented by a wandering man or someone quite mad. In the original tarot, the Italian word for fool was il matto. Matto means crazy, mad. This doesn't necessarily mean that the Fool themselves is mad, but sometimes that's how they're perceived by outer society. So what does this mean? The Fool is commonly represented as someone standing on a mountain, on a precipice, with one foot in the air, just about to take a leap into the great unknown, off the mountain, into who knows what. Now this creates very fair grounds to describe this person as perhaps crazy, perhaps mad, but what it means is that the Fool is a new beginning. The Fool is taking this leap, probably quite a scary leap, into something new and unknown, with the hope that something new can come of it. In tarot, the major arcana can represent aspects of our lives and can be used for divination, but traditionally was also used as a meditative tool to represent the aspects of our spiritual journey, the different stages of our spiritual journey. The Fool is given the number 0. Every card of the major arcana has a number. Now the Fool is 0. So the Fool doesn't really have anywhere specific to go. Maybe at the beginning, yes, but the Fool is without form. The Fool represents a blurring between reality, physical reality, and theoretical possibility. So by giving the Fool the number 0, what we're basically saying is that the Fool can exist anywhere. The Fool does not exist within a certain time period. The Fool is completely outside of time. Interestingly, in the Arabic 0, which is the one that we commonly use around the world, our numbers are Arabic. 0 was represented by a circle, still is. The circle has no beginning, has no end, it is completely infinite. The circle has no solid shape, unlike a square. The circle also, or the oval more like, the oval looks like an egg. An egg represents the new beginning, the possibility of a new life. Now that is a key word here, a possibility. For the Fool, like I said, is not solid, is not certain. The Fool can represent an area in our lives where there is potential for new. It is sometimes up to us to take that leap into the unknown. It is calling us sometimes to do that crazy act and to embrace whatever this scary new change is. Going back to how the Fool was represented in the Renaissance period, the Fool is often seen by the rest of society as somewhat of an outsider. The name matto, of course, means crazy, mad person. The Fool is not somebody who follows societal rules or has decided now that they will no longer be following societal rules. To do this act is seen as crazy and is an act of rebellion against the greater world. Now, of course, this links very nicely back towards Aquarius. Aquarius is the sign of rebellion, of outsiderhood. Where Aquarius is represented in our lives is often an area in which we feel like an outsider. Aquarius is the floating being with a bird's eye view over everything, an objective bird's eye view, who is somewhat a friendly figure and can get on with many, many different people. They have a very open mind, but is still somewhat of an outsider. In fact, their ability to get on with so many people is linked to that status of an objective outsider. So when we pick up the Fool in any tarot readings, this can be an area in our lives in which we are feeling called to rebel against the status quo, against how we have been told things should be. And if we look at, this is from the Hermetic Tarot, so the designed according to teachings of the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn. You'll notice here we have at the top the air, symbol of air. Of course, this links back to Aquarius being an air sign. And you see at the bottom, according to the Hermetic Order of the Golden Dawn, the Fool has the title of the Spirit of Ether. Now, this is very important. So what is ether? Ether, also described as spirit, is seen as the fifth mystical element. Now, we know the great four, but there is a fifth one. The fifth one exists everywhere and nowhere. The fifth element, ether, is very much the element of magic. It is something that exists in everything. It links all four elements together, and it is a formless element. It has many representations. One of them is a cauldron. Cauldron is a conduit for a new beginning, and whilst it does have a solid outer shell, inside it is empty. And much like ether, the Fool themselves is formless, empty in a way, but through emptiness we find new beginnings. There are many teachings of the void being the birth of a new creation. For example, in Hinduism, the goddess Kali, who is part of the great mother goddess, is sometimes described as the void, a big, empty, or seemingly empty, black, open space. But the void is not necessarily completely empty, because through the void we are born anew. Much like the universe was created from nothingness, from a void in space, thus we had the Big Bang. It is through nebulae that new stars are created, star nurseries, we can call them, as scientists do. So again, new beginnings, formlessness are intertwined. So the fall can really show us this element of our life where we can experience this new start, this creation of something wonderful and beautiful through an emptiness. For those familiar with Taoist teaching, you may know that it is through inaction that the greatest action occurs. This is the Wu Wei in Taoism. Also in Buddhism, we know everything is nothing, especially Zen Buddhism. A lot of Buddhist teaching and a lot of mindfulness teaching, which is based off this Buddhist teaching, is that through the emptying and the clarification of the mind, we can create seeds of a new awakening and a new and greater understanding. So right now, with Pluto about to enter into Aquarius, may I please invite you to meditate upon the Fool, on what the Fool represents, and areas in our life where we can be the Fool. Let us embrace the term Fool, and whilst it may sound derogatory, we know that it's not. Some of the greatest people, some of the greatest geniuses were regarded as mad, as foolish, as insane by their contemporaries, and often it's only in hindsight, sadly, that their genius was recognized. So may I now leave you with time to reflect and consider, and may you think about these words. As Pluto enters Aquarius, may I become a fool. May I become a mad person embracing the new beginning. May I find emptiness, formlessness, to create the seed of something new, something great. May I be the zero that both initiates and propagates a great spiritual journey.